My name is Nancy Alvarez. I'm 32 years old, and I teach fourth grade. My life has always been quiet, almost painfully ordinary. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that ordinary can be ripped apart in a heartbeat, especially when your family is the one holding the knife. A few weeks ago, I took a short trip with my boyfriend, Ethan. Nothing extravagant. We both have modest jobs. He works as a dental hygienist, and I spend most of my evenings buried under stacks of spelling tests. We saved, split the costs, and rented a tiny cabin outside of Boulder. We hiked, laughed, drank cheap craft beer, and took a few photos against the snowy mountain backdrop. It wasn't about showing off, it was about us, our space, our peace. Apparently, that was my crime. I didn't post anything, but my cousin did. An innocent Instagram story, a shot of me and Ethan grinning, with wind-chapped cheeks, bottles in our hands. Within 2 days, the calls started. First from Tara, my sister. "You're so selfish, Nancy. Do you even think about us?" Then from Matt, my older brother. "You've changed. Don't forget who's always been there for you." And finally, the heaviest blow from my mother. She didn't yell. She never needs to. Her guilt is sharper than any raised voice. "We've always been there for you, Nancy. But the moment you get a little free time, you run away like we don't exist. Run away. Like a weekend in the woods was an escape from prison instead of a break from exhaustion." I ignored most of it. Families have their storms. I told myself this one would pass. It always did, or at least it used to. Then came the phone call. Thursday evening. My mother's voice was unnervingly cheerful. Too cheerful. "Come on Sunday," she said. "We're having a barbecue. Just family. Just family." That last phrase pricked at me like a thorn. Just family. Lately, that phrase had started to feel like code, like I was only family when it suited them. Still, I agreed. Against my better judgment, against Ethan's wary look when I told him. Deep down, a part of me still wanted to believe things could be normal. Sunday came. I put on a soft blue sweater, the one Ethan said made me look like I belonged anywhere, even when I didn't feel like it. I brought a bottle of red wine. Nothing expensive, but something nice. I stood outside my parents' house, trying to breathe away the knot in my stomach before walking into the backyard. The place was packed. My father stood by the grill, smoke curling around him like a crown. Matt and his wife leaned against the cooler, sipping beers and whispering. Tara, predictably, was hunched over her phone, her face lit by the screen's glow. Mom was fussing with the table, arranging and rearranging napkins no one cared about. No one looked surprised to see me. No one said hello. I sat down, trying not to let the silence swallow me. I asked Matt's wife about her earrings. Gold hoops that caught the sunlight. She answered politely, then turned back to her drink. The food was fine, unseasoned, like everything at my parents' house always had been. But I forced myself to smile, to chew, to pretend. At one point, Mom asked how Ethan was doing. "He's good," I said. No follow-up, just silence. I felt the air thicken. They were waiting, watching, testing. So I tried to lighten it. I smiled, forcing a laugh. "I can't wait for summer. I need a real vacation." That's when it happened. My father threw his head back in a laugh so loud, so sharp, it felt rehearsed. "That's just for the family, without you." The table erupted. Matt clapped like a drunk at a comedy show. Tara snorted without looking up, muttering, "Guess you didn't need us, so we don't need you." And my mother? My mother smiled. Not kindly, not nervously. No, she smiled like this was the punchline she'd been waiting for. I felt every pair of eyes press into me, waiting for me to break, to defend myself, to argue. Instead, I set my fork down, smoothed the napkin beside my plate, and stood. "I'll leave the wine," I said quietly. No one stopped me. No one said goodbye. I walked out with my spine stiff, but inside, my chest felt hollowed out. Humiliation has a way of burning hot and freezing cold all at once. By the time I reached my car, I knew the truth. This wasn't just about punishing me for taking a vacation without them. This was about control. And when they couldn't control me with guilt, they would find another way. And they did. 5 days later, my phone buzzed with a message from the bank. Attempted withdrawal, $5,000. From a joint card I had stupidly never closed. The notification blinked across my phone screen like a red siren. Attempted withdrawal, $5,000. From an account I hadn't touched in years. A joint card my parents insisted I open back in college for emergencies. I had left it alive out of laziness, a relic I never bothered to close. Thank God I'd once set a daily withdrawal limit of $400. The limit was the only reason $5,000 hadn't vanished into thin air. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen. My pulse hammered. My first thought wasn't anger, it was disbelief. They hadn't asked. They hadn't even warned me. They'd simply tried. I froze, then moved. I blocked the card, logged in, and renamed the account. Pay without me. It felt almost petty, but satisfying, like carving truth into stone. An hour later, my phone vibrated with messages. WhatsApp lit up with its familiar green glow. Mom, it was a misunderstanding. Dad, you're overreacting. Matt, stop acting like a victim. You're always so dramatic. Tara, a string of laughing emojis, followed by a screenshot of the failed transaction notice. The casual cruelty of it sliced deeper than I expected. My family stealing from me, then laughing when caught. It was too absurd to even fight. I typed one word back. Okay. That was it. No explanations. No begging for them to see reason. No fuel for their fire. I thought that would end it. It didn't. 3 days later, Ethan and I pulled into the apartment parking lot after grabbing takeout. I carried a bag warm with fried rice, and Ethan balanced a carton of soup against his chest. We were still joking about which of us would cave first to the smell. But when I slid the key into my door, I noticed the latch. It wasn't broken. It wasn't forced. It was simply unlocked. I pushed the door open. My stomach plunged. Inside, standing in my living room as if it belonged to them, were my parents and my sister. My father was flipping through an old photo album, pages of my childhood in his careless hands. He looked up briefly, no guilt in his eyes, as though I'd walked into his house. My mother stood beside a bag she'd clearly brought, papers, snacks, folders, as if she was planning to stay a while. Tara had her shoes off, stretched across my couch, scrolling through her phone like a bored teenager waiting for an Uber. I dropped the bag of food onto the counter. What are you doing here? No yelling, no panic, just confusion, and a fury blooming behind my ribs. Mom smiled, as if this intrusion was the most natural thing in the world. We needed to talk. You didn't answer, so we came. I clenched my jaw. I wasn't answering because you tried to take $5,000 from my account. She waved that off like it was nothing more than spilled coffee. It was for the holidays. You're still part of this family, Nancy, like it or not. Ethan shifted behind me, his grip tightening on the soup carton. His silence was heavy with unease. My father closed the album and leaned back in the chair, his voice low and sharp. You've been different since you started dating him. Selfish, acting like we're a burden. Tara smirked without lifting her gaze from her phone. She's always been flaky. Colorado just proved it. Heat flared across my face. That trip, the simple cabin in Boulder, had become their weapon. Ethan finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. You broke into her apartment. That's not okay. Mom's head snapped toward him, her eyes colder than I'd ever seen. This is family business, she hissed. For a second, I stood frozen, the weight of 1,000 childhood silences pressing against me. The little girl who used to swallow her words to keep the peace wanted to retreat. But I wasn't 8 anymore. I stepped forward. No, you don't get to decide that. This is my home. Dad's voice hardened. You owe us, Nancy, a vacation. After abandoning us, it's the least you can do. The words landed like a slap. Oh, as though my love was currency they'd already spent. Something inside me snapped. Get out. Mom tried guilt. We raised you. Dad tried sarcasm. You've changed so much. Tara muttered. Ethan must really enjoy this drama. But I didn't care. I opened the door wide and pointed to the hall. Leave now. They hesitated, shuffling, exchanging glances as if waiting for me to back down. When I didn't, they filed out one by one. My mother lingered last. She turned at the threshold, her face twisted into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're going to regret this, she said softly. The door clicked shut behind them. I locked it, my hands trembling. Ethan set the soup on the counter and gently pulled me into his arms. This isn't normal, Nancy. My throat tightened. I know. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, replaying the way my father's laugh had carried over the barbecue table, the way my mother had stood in my living room like she was doing me a favor, the way Tara's smirk felt carved into my memory. It wasn't just about money, it was about control, and they weren't going to stop. The next morning, I picked up my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and pressed call. A voice answered almost immediately, calm and unsurprised. Nancy, I was wondering when you'd reach out. It was Aunt Denise, my mother's estranged sister, the black sheep of the family. I saw the group chat screenshots, she said. There are things you need to know. That was the moment everything began to change. Aunt Denise hadn't been part of family gatherings for years. When I was little, Mom used to hiss her name like it was a warning label. Unstable, toxic, drama queen. But Denise was the only one who ever slipped me birthday cards with $20 bills inside. The only one who remembered to ask about school plays or spelling bees. So when she said, "Come over tonight," I didn't hesitate. Her house sat tucked at the end of a quiet street, a small place she'd inherited from Grandma. The porch light glowed steady, not too bright, not too dim. I knocked, heart thudding. Denise opened the door with a smile that didn't feel fake. "Get in here," she said, ushering me into a living room that smelled faintly of cinnamon and old paper. Her shelves were stacked with boxes and files, labeled in her careful handwriting. I hadn't even taken off my coat when she handed me a manila folder. "Your mother's been running the same game for years. You're just the latest target." Inside were printouts of text messages, photocopied emails, and bank transfers. My breath caught as I scanned them. 2012. A $10,000 loan from Denise to my parents for roof repairs. Same month, photos of them on a cruise ship, cocktails in hand. 2015. Screenshots of Mom's emails begging for help with utilities, dated days before a shopping spree receipt from an upscale boutique. "They told the family I lied," Denise said, her eyes sharp. "Said I had memory problems. When I pushed back, they called me unstable. And everyone believed them, because your mother knows how to smile while she's lying." It felt like swallowing sand. My hands trembled as I set the papers down. "I tried to step back quietly," Denise continued, pouring us each a glass of wine. "Then I tried lawyers, but the family took her side. She's the sweet one, the martyr. I'm the crazy sister. That's the story they tell." I looked at her across the table, feeling the weight of her words settle into me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't feel insane. "They're never going to stop, Nancy," she said softly. "Not until you make them." Her voice had steel in it, but also something else. Warning, maybe even care. "What do I do?" I whispered. "We cut ties," she said. "Legally, completely. No strings left for them to pull. But if we do this, you need to be ready. They won't just hate you. They'll escalate." I thought of my mother's smile as she stood in my living room, my father's laugh at the barbecue, Tara's smirk, sharp as broken glass. "I'm ready," I said. The plan wasn't flashy. No dramatic showdown. Denise had a friend in financial compliance, a woman who knew her way around loopholes and legal protections. With her help, I spent the next week combing through my life like a surgeon cutting out a tumor. I closed every dormant account, changed every password, removed my parents from insurance policies, emergency contacts, anything that could tether them to me. It was exhausting, meticulous work, and with every form I signed, every phone call I made, I felt something loosening in my chest. When it was done, I didn't call them. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I sent one screenshot to the family WhatsApp. The closed account balance, renamed in bold black letters, "Pay without me." No caption, no explanation. The silence lasted barely 5 minutes. "Tara." "Matt." "Are you having some kind of breakdown?" "Mom." 3 missed calls in a row. "Dad." Nothing. I ignored them all. Denise wasn't done. A few nights later, she slid another folder across her table. This one was thinner, but its contents heavier. Glossy photos of my parents in casinos, clinking glasses in bars, posing on a balcony in Aruba. Each picture date-stamped. Each one taken during months they'd sworn they couldn't make rent. Months they'd asked me for help with groceries. I recognized the outfits. I remembered the messages. "You see it now," Denise said. "The pattern. They live how they want. And when the bills come due, they make you their safety net." I stared at the photo of Mom laughing on a beach chair, drink in hand, and something inside me hardened. I didn't post everything. Just one photo. Mom and Dad standing on that balcony in Aruba, sunglasses reflecting a sky so blue it looked fake. Caption: "Sometimes the people who call you selfish are just mad you stopped funding their lifestyle." No tags, no names. I didn't need to. The explosion was immediate. My cousin Mia DM'd me. "Wait, is this about your parents?" My aunt called me. "Disrespectful. You're humiliating your family." Tara posted a cryptic story. "Some people would rather destroy everything than admit they're wrong." Matt sent me a voicemail. I didn't even bother pressing play. But the silence that followed was worse. The quiet between storms. And then Ethan's voice cut through from the kitchen. "Nancy, Your mom's here. My stomach dropped. I looked out the window. Mom stood on the porch, her face carefully arranged in a mask of weariness, like she was the victim who had finally come to make peace. Beside her loomed Uncle Brian, my dad's younger brother, loud, arrogant, sunglasses at dusk. He looked like an enforcer in some cheap mob film. They weren't here to talk. They were here to reset the board. And that was when I realized we were only halfway through the storm. The porch light cast a pale glow over my mother's face. She stood with her hands clasped in front of her, the picture of tired dignity. Uncle Brian loomed beside her, arms crossed, sunglasses still on despite the dusk. He looked like he thought intimidation could be worn like cologne. I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me. Ethan hovered in the kitchen, his silhouette visible through the blinds, ready but silent. Mom's voice was soft, measured. "We need to talk, Nancy." I shook my head. "I don't think we do." Brian jumped in, his voice booming. "You embarrassed this family. That post you made, that was out of line." A bitter laugh escaped me. Out of line? Out of line was trying to drain $5,000 from my account without asking. Brian's jaw flexed. "She made a mistake." I looked straight at him. "No, she made a choice. And don't act like you didn't know about it." Mom lifted her hands in mock surrender, as though she were caught between two warring nations. "I didn't come to fight. I came to make peace. We canceled the old trip. We're planning something smaller. We thought maybe you'd join us. Start over." There it was, the reset button. The same one they'd pressed after every ugly fight in the past. Wipe the slate clean, pretend it never happened, and reel me back in. But this time I wasn't biting. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said, my voice steady. "And if you show up here again uninvited, I'll file a report." Brian scoffed, shaking his head. "You'd really threaten your own mother?" "No," I said, "I'm protecting my life." For the first time, Mom's mask cracked. Her expression shifted, disbelief etched into her features, as if I were the one crossing some invisible line. Then she gave me a look I hadn't seen since childhood, a mix of pity and contempt. The look that said, "You've disappointed me so completely, I almost wish you didn't exist." "You're not the same person anymore," she whispered. "You've changed." The words were meant as an insult, but they landed like a gift. They turned without another word. No grand gestures, no parting shots, just the silence of regrouping predators. Inside, Ethan was waiting. His eyes searched mine like he was hoping to see relief. "It's not over," I told him. My voice trembled, despite my best effort. "They're not going to leave it like this." 2 days later, I was proven right. The email arrived just before lunch. Its subject line was bland, almost bureaucratic. Notice of concern. Immediate acknowledgement required. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I saw the sender. Office of Professional Conduct, District 14. My heart sank. The message inside was short but devastating. An anonymous complaint had been filed against me with the school board. Allegations of emotional instability, claims that personal issues were creating a hostile learning environment. Phrases like erratic behavior and concerning classroom tone were peppered throughout, but not a single specific incident was named. It even made a vague reference to Ethan, though not by name, relationship conflicts that may have been observed by minors. I sat frozen at my desk, my thermos of soup cooling untouched beside me. My classroom walls seemed to lean inward. This wasn't just family drama anymore. They had reached into the one sanctuary I had left, my job. That afternoon, I was called into the principal's office. Ms. Cover's face said it all. She didn't believe the complaint, but protocol forced her hand. "You'll be under informal observation for now," she said gently. "HR may want to speak with you. I know this isn't fair, Nancy, but it has to be documented." I nodded, numb. I understand. The walk back to my classroom felt endless. My students looked up at me with their wide, unknowing eyes, and I forced a smile I didn't feel. Inside, something was cracking. That night, Ethan met me at the door. He didn't even have to ask. I handed him the printed email. He read it once, jaw tightening, then set it down like it was poison. "Who would do this?" I didn't hesitate. "They would." "We called Denise." Her voice was quiet but steady. "I told you, they don't stop, they escalate." For once, I didn't argue. I just said, "You're right." A pause, then, "It's time to end this, Nancy. No more half measures, we go all in." So we did. We spent the next 3 days piecing together everything. Every Venmo request labeled groceries, followed by vacation photos in Cancun. Tara's textbook request that turned out to be a Coachella down payment. Dad's urgent email about overdue car insurance paired with a receipt for a brand new flat screen TV. And, of course, the screenshot of the failed $5,000 withdrawal. I'd spent years ignoring these things, convincing myself peace was more important than keeping score. But now, score was all that mattered. We weren't going to send it to my parents, not to Tara, not to Matt. We were going to send it to everyone else. The extended family chat, the one with cousins, distant aunts, second cousins who only spoke up at Christmas, the people who had always believed my mother's version, the selfless mom with the ungrateful daughter who drifted away. I attached every screenshot, every receipt, every dated photo. At the top, I wrote one line. Before you believe the version of me they tell, see the version they hide. I hit send. The group chat detonated. One cousin asked if it was a prank. Another simply wrote, Jesus. My aunt, the one who always sided with my mom, fired back, how dare you humiliate her like this? Tara posted to her Instagram story, some people can't handle being called out, so they burn the whole tree down. And then silence, the kind that hums with what's coming next. When my phone buzzed again, it wasn't in the chat. It was Ethan's. He looked at me, his face pale. It's from your mom. I took the phone. 3 sentences glared back at me. You poison her. She wasn't like this before you. I hope you're happy. Divide us. Blame him. Rewrite history. But Ethan didn't flinch. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, end it. All of it. Whatever you have to do. And for the first time, I felt it too. The resolve. The necessity. This wouldn't be loud. It would be final. I didn't answer my mother's message. I didn't rage, didn't block her, didn't even type a single period in reply. I just let it sit there. 3 sentences designed to poison the well between me and Ethan. But silence can be louder than any fight. That night I told Ethan, I'm done waiting for the next blow. I won't live my life bracing for impact. He nodded, his hand wrapping around mine. Then let's end it. For good. The next morning, Denise took me to meet her lawyer friend, Clara. She wasn't flashy. No billboards, no dramatic slogans. Just sharp eyes, quiet confidence, and a desk stacked with files that looked like they belonged to ghosts of families she'd already helped. Clara leafed through the pile of screenshots, emails, and photos I slid across the desk. She didn't flinch. Trespassing, attempted financial fraud, defamation via the school board complaint, she listed calmly. We'll file a no-contact order, temporary at first, but with this evidence, permanent won't be hard. And we'll report the apartment incident as criminal trespass. This isn't family drama, Nancy. This is a pattern of abuse. Her words hit me like cold water. I'd always told myself what my parents did was toxic, manipulative, unfair, but never allowed myself to call it what it was: abuse. Within a week, Clara had the temporary no-contact order filed. My landlord changed the locks, installed a camera over my door, and apologized as if he'd personally let wolves into my apartment. But the biggest revelation came when Clara's tech team traced the anonymous school board complaint. They followed the digital fingerprints right back to Tara's college IP address. She hadn't even bothered to cover her tracks. When Clara informed the district, they dropped the case immediately and cleared my record. No charges, no lingering suspicion, just gone. I didn't press further. I didn't need to. Tara had already handed me proof of everything rotten about them. With the legal protection in place, Ethan and I started looking for a new apartment. A fresh start. Clean walls, new keys. We found it. A modest 2-bedroom near a small park. Ethan loved the kitchen. I loved the sunlight pouring through the reading nook. It wasn't grand, but it felt like safety. Denise helped us pack. She wrapped Grandma's old mixing bowl in newspaper, her hands gentle like she was sealing a blessing inside it. As we turned in the keys to the old apartment, she squeezed my shoulder. That place was your first step away from them, she said softly. This is your first step forward. I didn't reply. I just breathed, and for the first time in months, my lungs didn't feel like they belonged to my parents. The first night in the new apartment, Ethan opened a bottle of cheap red, and we ate pizza cross-legged on the balcony floor. The air was warm, still. No buzzing phone, no incoming guilt bombs disguised as messages, just silence. Sweet, unbroken silence. I feel like I'm finally out of the house, I told him. Not just physically, out. Ethan smiled, that gentle kind of smile that makes your chest ache. You are. We sat in quiet for a long time, watching the streetlights flicker on. Then he said something that stopped me cold. You know, you're going to be a great mom someday. I turned, startled. He wasn't teasing. He wasn't saying it to make a point. He just said it, simple and true, like he saw something in me I hadn't dared believe. And in that moment, I realized something important. Every storm, every manipulation, every cruel laugh at a dinner table, every false accusation. They hadn't just tried to break me. They'd cleared the way, burned the dead wood. For the first time, I wasn't somebody's scapegoat. I wasn't the selfish daughter or the flaky sister. I was just Nancy, and that was more than enough. The next morning, I deleted the extended family group chat. Not left, deleted, gone. No ties, no chains, no windows left open for them to crawl through. A few cousins reached out privately. We hope we can still talk. I didn't reply, not out of cruelty, out of self-preservation. At school, my students welcomed me back with construction paper signs and stick figure drawings. Ethan framed one, a lopsided picture of me with big glasses and the words, "Ms. A is the best." He hung it by the doorway where I'd see it every morning. For the first time in years, I slept deeply, real sleep, the kind where you don't wake up bracing for the next shoe to drop. Months later, I caught myself laughing in the kitchen with Ethan, the sun pouring across the counter. I wasn't thinking about my parents, not even about the scars they left. I was thinking about tomorrow, about us, about the life we were building that had nothing to do with guilt or manipulation or family traps. And I knew finally that the storm was over. Not because they stopped, because I ended it.